There is a well-organized racket going on under everybody's nose that nobody will dig themselves out of, and it starts with something as innocent as iCloud, where you could see 5 out of 5 gigabytes are used, but they'd be happy to give me more space if I give them money for it. And that's why the first gigs were free. So you'd be stuck using it because you don't want to get rid of your data, and now you got to pay more because you're going to generate more data. Google may seem more generous giving you 15 gigs instead of 5, but they're not. They know you're going to be more reliant on them because you're not going to be able to get rid of those 15 gigs of pictures that you got, because most people are storing pictures and videos from their cell phone, and you can be buried under more and more cost to rent space from these companies. It's like a drug dealer who gives you the drugs for free until you're hooked, and then you got to start paying for it once you're addicted. Notice the introductory cost before they raise the rates at 2 terabytes. It's not like you're going to magically reduce the data you're using after 3 months. People just think they can take unlimited pictures and they don't go anywhere. Back in my day, you took a photo, you went to a little booth in a parking lot, and then you dropped it off and you got it developed. And the ones that sucked, they threw away. You didn't even have to pay for them. Now you're renting space on Google's server for the 500 shitty pictures you took from the airplane window that you're never going to look at again. Because there are no upfront costs, you got no problem paying for it later. We just stored it in a book. And we sure as hell didn't rent space to have that book stored somewhere. Apple knows this too, because their high-res photos don't already take up enough space. They created these live photos that actually capture like 3 seconds of video, which is absolutely useless except to take up more space when you store them. So now you have this constantly reoccurring 3-second loop of this photo that you're never going to look at again, but takes up a lot more space on the server. That is some masterclass stuff there, Apple. And you can see right here, I'm guilty of the same thing. Let's fix it. This is the Synology DS224 Plus NAS. This is the 2-bay, kinda entry-level NAS with which I've purchased 2 8-terabyte hard drives. These are the IronWolf 8 terabytes. I got all 3 of these during Black Friday, so it's cheaper than shown here in the picture. Let's unbox it. Here's a NAS wrapped in a protective sheet, an installation guide, a smaller box full of stuff. In the smaller box, we got a power cable, 2 Ethernet cables, a package of screws, and a power supply. On the front, we have a power button, a button with a C on it, USB interface, disk status lights, LAN lights, and a status light. On the back, 2 LAN interfaces, a USB interface, as well as power. We'll use this manual and follow it through from drive installation onward to software installation. Pretty straightforward. The front covers rubber mount and pops right off, and the drive carriers are removed by pushing the button that says push and sliding the carrier out. We'll move these out of the way to unbox the drives. We'll now remove the locking tabs from the side of the carrier as they pop right off. And now we'll insert the drive into the carrier. We could see that the screw holes line up with these holes, and we could reinsert these locking tabs, snapping them back in to secure the drive on both sides. And then we'll repeat. The drives will then slide back in. The top of the carrier says top on it. It snaps in. We'll snap in the other one now in the same fashion. And the rubber cover is then pushed back on, completing our installation. These screws would be used for installing smaller hard drives into the carrier. So now we'll plug our power cable into the power supply. We'll unwrap our Ethernet cable. We're ready to install our drive on the network. I had a Raspberry Pi system I was testing for network storage. I've since removed it. I now have space right next to the modem, plugged into the network as well as critical power. I press the power button to fire it up, and it does take a couple of minutes to boot up, but we see eventually the status light turns on, and a little bit while after that, the disk lights will turn on, then an audible beep followed by LAN activity. Let's look at the software installation. I could do the next steps on the phone or the PC, but for the sake of completeness, I'm going to do it on the phone with DS Finder. We'll come back to the PC after installation. I'll open the app in the App Store using the QR code provided in the instructions, and then hit the Get button and download DS Finder. Once opened, I'll accept any request to allow notifications and hit Accept. I'll then select Set up a new NAS. I've already installed the drives. It wants to find devices on my network. I allow it. Step 2, make sure the NAS and the phone are on the same network. Mine is. Step 3 is to power on the NAS. Mine already is, so I proceed. And now I press search to begin searching for the NAS. I've sped this up, and it's found, so I select it. And it says not installed, so I press install. It asks if I want to employ SHR, and I'm going to click OK. It'll then warn me the disks will be formatted and ask if I want to continue. I'll have to agree to some legal stuff. I enable notifications and the installation DSM will begin. I will greatly speed this up. Once DSM finishes installing, a reset counter starts, but it only got to 7 minutes and 20 seconds on my box. Immediately, I'm greeted with a dialog to create an admin account, and I can tell you, you cannot use the name admin to do so. Don't use a weak password. I only did it for the video. I'll fix it later. I need to create a Synology account, so I'll click Sign Up. I'll click Continue. Then I'll create an account with my primary email address. My email receives a verification code, so I type it in now and hit Next. It asks for some marketing information as well as a password. I agree to the terms of service again and hit Submit. The account is created successfully. It then automatically logs in. It provides a Manage Your NAS Anywhere feature, so I select Setup and select a Quick Connect ID, after which I press Submit. I don't check the box to join the Statistics Club, I just hit Submit. Ready to go, and I hit Go. It reminds us that we should install Drive. Before I can even do anything, it tells me that I'm protected by adaptive MFA, and I hit Next. So it wants me to provide a secondary backup email address in case of emergency, so I do that now. I'm then instructed to click the link in that email. I click the link. It says verification successful, and it now says I'm protected by adaptive MFA with a secondary backup email address. Now I'm getting a notice for Active Insight. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to click Agree. We'll let it install and find out what it is. We have 3 apps installing right now: Drive, Photos, and Active Insight. And after a short while, all 3 apps are installed. Spent enough time setting up on the phone. Let's have a look at the UI on the computer now. As per the instructions, I'll make my way over to find.synology.com. It will search for my device on the network, and ultimately it will find it. I see my device come up. I'll go down to the right and press Connect. This takes me to the login screen, so I'll log in now. And this is with my user account for the device, not my email address. I put in my password, stay signed in, hit the blue arrow. Something called Synology Office popped up. It seems interesting, looks like some sort of share and collaboration utility. So I'm going to click Install now to install this. Another thing came up, Extended Warranty Plus. It costs money to extend your warranty. I didn't know it at the time, so I'm just going to skip over the Extended Warranty Plus stuff that comes up. I'm going to edit it out. Then two-factor authentication came up. This is something I definitely want. That's my personal choice. I'm going to hit Enable now because I want to use two-factor authentication, making this much more secure. Currently set on single factor. I click down on two-factor below. 3 options are Approved Sign-In, Verification Code OTP, and Hardware Security Key. I'm going to choose Approved Sign-In. That and Verification Code both will require the Synology Single Sign-In mobile app. I verify my identity before continuing. And here it describes the process of Use Approved Sign-In. We're going to hit Next now. We're going to need to download the secure app from the App Store. We hit Scan the QR code link above. Opening the app with my camera, we could see I've already installed mine. I just wanted to show it, but after installation, you could hit Open, and a small amount of configuration is done. It'll ask to take a picture of the QR code on the screen as part of that installation, and once that is done, it'll then ask you to add a backup alternate sign-in method with the verification OTP, so I click Next. And using the camera app within the program, I scan the QR code above, and end up retrieving a 6-digit code. As we see here, there's a 6-digit code that constantly cycles through that app. I supply the 6-digit code below and then hit next. My backup email address automatically appears from an earlier configuration. We hit next, and now we see all the information for two-factor. Now we see it set up for two-factor authentication, primary set for approved sign-in, and secondary is verification OTP. This is a quick tour that pops up. I recommend that you take a look at it. I'll take a look at it too. Or I was about to, till another notification came up saying that I have to set up my notification. So let's set that up now. And when I look through, I see that my email is already configured for the email section. And in push service, I see that my phone is already registered to receive warnings. I'm not using webhooks or rules. This was already configured earlier in DS Finder, so we're just going to close this and proceed. Yeah, highly recommend that you take the time to go through DSM help. You could click that question mark over there on the left-hand side. If you close this out, you could peruse it later. So by default, there's a health monitor widget on the bottom right corner of the screen here, let you know what's going on with the CPU and the RAM, little graph and whatnot. There's notifications, probably dealing with all the stuff that was just installed as part of the initial installation of the NAS. Restart, shut down, and log out, stuff you'd find on a standard standalone computer if this were a server. That toggle the widgets, and off to the right of that is a search. Here's Synology Drive. I'll open that. I can't tell if the Synology Drive and the Office are synonymous. We're going to find out if there's a separate Office app. From here I could jump to Photos, also found on the desktop. I'll click to the right through this welcome thing right quick. The app provides a QR code to install the software on the phone. I'll be installing that a little bit later. And then we have the control panel over here, and there's a lot of settings in the control panel. I just want to touch on a few things. Going into Synology account, again, it says Extended Warranty Plus to register for an extended warranty. It should say purchase an extended warranty. I really hate this bait and switch stuff. I guess even Synology isn't above this. I noticed my time zone was wrong in the region options. It never even asked me what it was. I'm not in Bogota, so I changed it to the correct one and decided to check all the rest of the settings in region options thereafter. Everything else appeared to be correct, and I'm not using this as an NTP server, so that's fine. I clicked apply. I checked under hardware and power. It does in fact make a single beep when the system turns on. This is part of the settings and perfectly normal. There is a possibility to serve external USB drives on this system. We're not going to be getting into that in this video. Telnet and SSH, if you don't use them, leave them off. Definitely don't turn on Telnet to get into this system over a public network. That would not be good. External access was set up early on in DS Finder, so that's all configured correctly. If you're running a dynamic DNS server on one of your computers, you may be able to run it right on here instead. We can see in users, the admin and guest accounts are deactivated by default. This is normal. Only my account is there. I'll tell you, my secondary email address is listed as email address. I thought that weird. And Samba is enabled by default, so Mac, Windows, Linux, everybody can connect to the file server and do so natively as a network drive. None of these other servers are enabled by default except for Bonjour for Mac, so it could discover this device on the network. One last thing before we push photos is Package Center. Opening it up, I have to agree to terms of service and hit OK. And there's all sorts of software that could be installed in this NAS. Too much to get into in one video, though I try to remember what the purpose of this box is. For me, it's a NAS, and I don't want to add too much stuff and bog it down. There's only so much RAM and CPU power. I could get a Raspberry Pi to run some of these servers. I do want to scroll up to the Synology Office app and open it, see what opens up. And yeah, it's the Drive app, so I guess they're the same thing. Just want to clarify in File Station before we begin. There's Home, and by default has Photos, and then there's Homes. Homes is there because I have admin access and I can see everybody's home directory. Home is my personal directory. Let's continue. So where we left off on the phone at Drive, I'm going to press Get. It opens up Synology Drive in the App Store. I'll hit Get again to download it. Once completed, I'll go back to the DS Drive app and press Get on Photos. Get that one as well. And then I'll also download Active Insight just to find out what it is later. It may be beyond the scope of this video, I don't know yet. I'll open up Synology Photos now and hit accept on their privacy message. And it's my first time using it, so I'm going to have to log in. The Quick Connect ID is also needed, as well as the password. It wants to find devices on the network. I allow. Then it asks for the 6-digit security key. I grab the key in the other app, and I type it in. I click Remember this device, and OK. There's a 4-page welcome thing to slide through, but one of them asks you if you want to automatically create albums from people's faces, so I just go and check that one off because why not? I'm not going to enable backup yet. I want to have a quick look around. In albums, there are a couple of defaults. Obviously, they're all empty. We'll go to More now and select Settings. I found no default settings that needed to be changed here for our next step. So I press Done and then tap to set up photo backup. Then enable photo backup. I selected photos only because I make a lot of temporary videos for YouTube on my phone and I don't want to pull them onto the drive. I'm leaving the backup destination as default and keeping duplicates set to skipped. Finally, I press the Enable button. I then allow this program access to my photos, allow full access, and enable notifications, which I allow now. Definitely want to use that focus backup for that first large import of thousands of pictures because it runs in the foreground on your phone. It's a lot quicker. It shuts off the screen and lets it run without being disabled by the operating system. The only thing is you can't use your phone while this is running, so it could be like an hour or so that the phone is down, not usable. You touch a screen, it comes right back on, shuts off again in 10 seconds. Eventually, depending on the number of pictures, the backup is complete. I hit finish. If I press photos, I could see it starting to process in the background already in date order, but I imagine it takes some time. As this is my first rodeo with this, and I haven't backed up my phone in 10 months, I'm going to hit backup now just in case something goes wrong, as I've got 34 gigs of photos on this phone. I don't feel like losing in case I make a mistake. It's just a good idea. Now I could safely continue. On the main page, I want to make my way to Control Panel because there's a setting I want to change, found here at the Login portal. Making my way up to the Applications tab, I'll go down to Synology Photos. It's the third one down on mine. Either double click or press Edit. I'll press Edit, and we can see the alias is grayed out as an example, but I want to fill it in with the word photo. So I'll type in photo now, and then I'll hit Save. And that will allow folks to log into the photo application from their web browser using the Quick Connect without going through that program, just by appending photo to the URL. Taking us right to the Synology Photos login screen where I will log in now. Approve the sign-in on my phone because I have not disabled this yet for this computer. And we're logged into our photo app from the web browser. An inspection of our backup, I go to mobile backup and then to iPhone. We can see it broken down by year. I click on a year, it's broken down by month. I click on a month and we can see all the pictures. There's Lily. Everything is working just fine. I'll be scrutinizing this backup, but I also have to back up my iPad as well as the Mac. It has Apple Photos on there. I'll log out of here. We're back after backing up my Mac, and we'll notice that the directory structure has changed to Photo Library. And under Photo Library are the years and the months. Same structure, but different root directory. And I'm going to explain why in just a bit. But all my pictures are now here merged between the computer and the phone. I'll select one of the photos, an alternator on the DeLorean. And we could see it has the same functionality as any other program. Zoom in, zoom out, share, zoom in, information which is on. I could shut it off. Turn it back on, delete obviously, and then more options are over here that do a variety of things like rotate, set as cover, move to, copy to, whatnot, and so forth, even a slideshow. There are a couple settings missing on this web-based application, and as I go back and we have a look at settings under my initial on the top right, we click on this icon. One thing you immediately notice missing is the top setting for backup on the phone, which is the customizable destination. The web app dumps the photos into Photo Library as a root directory, and since that can't be changed and the phone versions can, I had to change the phones to match the configuration of the web app. So I changed the configuration on the phone and the iPad, as you see, for customized folder, and then I renamed the folders on this actual application here so that the phones would now update to it as well as the Mac. Don't click plus in this view if you want your pictures going in those directories with the year and the months. This is not documented, but you shouldn't do it. Only upload photos when you're in this timeline view if you want them in those year-month directories. And when you're in this view, then it's okay to click plus or simply drag the files right in. Now it says it's done, and there's a menu right there that I could click to take me to the folder. It doesn't actually take me to the folder, as we see. So this needs some work, this application. But I happen to know where it is because I have info on that picture. So I'm just going to go to that year month. And the picture was deposited in the correct location. And this is important if you got a lot of doubles and you want the doubles to appear in the same directories so that they can be skipped. I don't see any value in maintaining a separate photo library for my Macintosh and my phone. They all come from the same camera. One more note on this particular web-based program: I wouldn't try pulling in more than a couple hundred photos at a time on import, because a lot of times it just hangs up and needs to be restarted. This program, clearly an afterthought. Their applications on their phones run a lot better than this program. I'm hoping that this will be fixed with subsequent updates, but it works fine for the viewing of the pictures and whatnot and adding a couple of photos, but bulk photo editions was not wonderful. Noting my iCloud storage is down to 140 megs, 0 of which come from photos. I have synced my phone off, and shared albums is on to allow the sharing of albums and whatnot, but we could see 0K. Everything is set up just how I want for iCloud Photos now, which is pretty much using nothing. On the bottom of Photo Backup, you'll notice a Free Up Space tab. If I select that, I could delete every local copy on the phone that's already been backed up to the drive, and that will significantly reduce the amount of space, deleting thousands of photos from the phone. I've already done so, and obviously on my phone I still have a lot of those videos I need to remove. But now I no longer have locally stored copies on the phone. So every once in a while, as you move a lot of photos over, you could just hit that button. We're going to work with the Drive app from the iPad because it's the same as the phone but has better viewability in the video. I open it now, and a message tells me that there's a brand new feature for scanning documents directly with the camera into the Drive. I continue on. I'll note that the icon on the top left, Photos, will take you to your photos in the Drive app, though working with your photos is probably best served from the Photo app. Documents, as one would expect, is currently empty. There's an audio section, and videos, which were sorted from my phone and Mac uploads. Clicking on the Files icon below shows the actual directory structure of the drive. There's also a Teams folder that would need to be admin enabled. The Files view also has different viewing and sorting options. There's also a section for a shared folder that currently has nothing in it as well, shared with me and shared with others. Various setup options and backup and sync tasks can be found in the menu off to the top right. I'm not going to be covering backup in this video, it's just too long, and photo backup is covered in the other app. We'll find that in settings. All the default settings will serve us just fine for what we're doing, and in storage usage we can see currently I'm using 44.5 gigs with everything that I've uploaded so far. Now as I open up the Files app in iOS, I will see my iCloud drive, which I have a couple files on there for testing, and as I look below, I have nothing on the iPad locally, but I also see that Drive is in the locations, and I have to initially turn it on, so I press that button. As I select it again, we see my Drive and my shared folder is already in here, so it's integrated with this application, which is pretty cool. So I click on iCloud Drive, and I select this QuickTime Player folder, which just has one file in it, and I copy it. And I go down to Drive. Then within my drive, in this main directory here where Photos is, I just hit paste, and it copies over onto the shared drive. It's worth noting you could access your photos here from the directory structure with the years and the months and open it up if you wanted to, but I would recommend using the Photo app for this. It's designed to handle photos and would have a much more enjoyable experience to not handle them just as files. Also, I did notice it acting a little bit quirky sometimes from files. I would recommend using the Drive app and not files if you didn't need to. Not that I think it's at risk of destroying any data or anything, it's just that there's an app that's made for this. It should be used for it. But using this Files app to copy stuff in from iCloud or the local device, yeah, it's just fine. We can mount this drive as a network drive in Mac, Windows, or Linux. We can see here it's found because of the Bonjour protocol in Mac. And as I click on it, we can see because I'm admin, I see Home and Homes. I click on Home, and there's my folders in the drive exactly as I populated them. No problem at all. An icon appears on my desktop for Home because it's mounted, so it appears just like a regular local drive. But I want it to auto-connect on startup, and all operating systems have a convention to allow this. Let's do that now. Where this icon will be on the desktop on startup. On Mac, I open up Setup, and in the search bar, I'm going to type in Login Items, clicking the Login Item setting, and we'll see right now I have one thing in Android File Agent. I'm going to click the plus symbol, and right here I'm going to click on our network drive, and then my Home folder, and then Open, and it is added here to the Open It Login column, and that's it. We're done. Just need to close this out, and the next time I start up, it'll automatically open up on startup. And we'll use it like a regular drive. Nothing special. You can't pull stuff from the web app in Google Drive onto your new shared drive. It's just not possible. So what you're going to need to do is install Google Drive or use one of the applications built into the NAS that would allow you to pull from Google Drive. I have Google Drive installed, so I could just open up or pull a particular folder. I have a folder called Stuff here in this example where I'm going to copy this Commodore folder. And then I'm just going to go down to my shared drive just as an example to my home, and I'm just going to paste this right in. And having to pull down from Google and then have to paste it up to your shared folder does take a little bit of time. It's not the quickest way, obviously, but it is effective to move your stuff over. I would be remiss if I didn't test this. I have absolutely atrocious cellular service in my house. I have shut off my wireless. We could see my phone is on 5G. And my internet testing will show that I'm getting 50 meg down and about 10 up. And we could see I'm running the photo app and it's loading the pictures with a little bit of lag, but they do load, and it's not that bad under these, what are probably the worst conditions, zooming in just fine. It's workable under the worst circumstances. Same thing with shared drive. Everything is relative to the file size, the speed of your home internet, and the connection you have on your cell phone. Everything works fine downloading a manual now, and everything works perfectly fine viewing this document locally. And the mission has been accomplished. Taking a look at iCloud, we could see that there's barely anything in my iCloud drive now, just passwords and keychain on to store passwords across devices. The iCloud drive is on as a fire safe and offsite for some important documents. And photos is left on only so people could share photos with me. I don't store any photos on the cloud, and the cloud mail has since been shut off. Not done working my Google Drive yet, as you see, but it's mostly email at this point. We can see I'm down to 5 gigs, but the Gmail is taking up about 5.3 of the 5.9. So everything on the drive we see is 0.37, almost done, and the photos are pretty much gone too at this point. And that concludes this video on the Synology DS224 Plus NAS to replace your corporate cloud storage. I hope you found this video enjoyable, educational, and informative. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.